You have to be careful about making a weird show or watching a weird show.
Hello, this is Greg Smalley on Pod 366, a Weird Movies podcast, joined today by the slightly befuddled Giles Edwards. We're a little bit out of sync because apparently we were supposed to record yesterday and didn't realize it.
Or maybe we'll just have a whole lot of deja vu moments today.
Yes. But we are here to discuss the week's new releases, as we frequently do. And so, do you have any opening comments there, Giles? Or
Well, seeing as I'm generally bad at self-promotion, I will bring up that one of the DVD releases that we'll be discussing later today is an adaptation of a work that I've actually narrated and had some score and atmospheric work done by the Canadian group Ignore That Door. I'm talking about an Edgar Allan Poe humor classic.
well, we'll get into that later. But as for now, here is what is on the schedule. It's a
Mhm.
little bit out of order, but this is what we have to discuss. And so let us just begin with this quite striking and I would say beautiful looking still, which I
Yes.
think Giles is going to take the opportunity to attempt to describe.
With pleasure. This is a still from an animated film. That said, there's a degree of realism to the body forms. Of course, though, it is a bit stylized, particularly in the color scheming, in that virtually everything is some sort of shade of green, from a dark jungle green to a light, almost sunny yellowish green. Um, in the foreground, we have what may well be a smiling panda bear holding a large knife, cutting open a pineapple, which is resting on a tree stump. And over this bear's shoulder in the middle background are two figures, one of them a human male with military style slacks and cap, kneeling. Looks like he's doing some washing there, maybe rinsing, maybe scrubbing, and assisting this individual with his laundry efforts is a fully standing primate of some variety or another that is looming large and is helpfully placing the laundry to dry on a clothesline that's been attached to a nearby jungle tree. So a bit absurdist, but also rather idyllic.
Yeah, and whimsical, perhaps.
Yes.
It's and the name of this is
The name of this is The Twilight World.
the Twilight World. And Giles, do you know in particular why this still, yeah, which looks certainly, like it would be from a weird story, but why this was selected for discussion this week?
Well, it is a film, not yet done, but it is being directed and I believe narrated by Werner Herzog, who is a regular um, filmmaker for us. Lots of his movies discussed. And I'm fairly certain that the French animation studio or studios involved in this have probably crossed our radar at some point for other projects too. So this combination, oh yes, and of course there's the subject matter. This is based on the, I believe, diary and life of the Japanese soldier who sort of kept the war going on alone in a deserted jungle area for 3 decades. So all this adding up to something that is quite probably going to be right in our wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's so yes, you're correct. It is based on a true story. However, it's more approximately based on Werner Herzog's novelization of that true story, which this is a adaptation of. And it is indeed about a Japanese soldier who, after World War II ends, either does not realize or refuses to acknowledge that the war has ended and hangs out in the jungles in the Philippines for 30 years believing that he is fighting the war. And from what we see here, apparently goes quite insane in the process, which is probably what draws Werner Herzog to that material. It also has that jungle setting that he, is famous for, even though it's not the Amazon, but instead the Southeast Asian islands. And it's set for 2026. All this information comes from Variety, by the way. Set for production in 2026. Herzog is currently 82 years old, so he might not even make it, but this very well could be the last thing he does. Or he could keep filming for another decade. You never know.
Yeah, I recall he certainly seemed with it and vivacious in the documentary about him that came out about a year or so. So he might be one of those long-term German stock that will putter around till his early hundreds doing his thing.
Yes, and the one other thing I'd like to mention is that collaborating on the screenplay with him is Michael Arias, who is the director of Tekkonkinkreet, a certified canonically weird film in our canon. So there's even more weird credibility there. So that one is very exciting, but we're going to have to wait a year or more to see that. But something we can see much sooner, and Giles perhaps will see it soon, we have right here. It's a Blu-ray cover, and Giles, would you like to describe what we see here?
I'll do my best. This, I believe, is the back cover in that I see three characters that I recognize from the trailer, guessing that the main character is prominently featured on the other side. The backdrop for these three characters is, shall we say, I'm going to say a blue-gray retro-futurist landscape. Anyone who's poked around with the console game BioShock Infinite, there are definitely vibes of that. And the three characters here look a bit ragtag. There is an older bearded gentleman holding something that looks like a bazooka with an aquarium-style orb on the back of it, probably holding some kind of NATO ammunition. Glancing down somberly at something. To the right is a slightly less older, slightly less bearded gentleman with a great tall shock of hair. He is covered with, I wish I knew the technical term for him, but if you dissect a good speaker, you'll find a series of discs within them, and he seems to be covered at least on the torso with various style amplification projection discs over a rather utilitarian leather looking shirt or jacket. And more in the foreground is a young black boy with one of those little sort of newsboy caps of blue and gray. He's got a great big old flower on his lapel on his little blazer there, and he seems to almost be breaking into a smile, but it's not entirely clear. But all told, this is very much got a science fiction from the past kind of feel to it.
Yes, the aesthetic I think you're looking for is steampunk.
Yes.
Yeah. And this would be
Myth of Man.
From Jamin Winans. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not sure. Maybe someday we'll find out officially. Mm-hmm. And his wife and partner in crime, Kiowa Winans, who I'm also not sure that's how you pronounce it, but maybe someday we'll find out for sure. And since this is a Blu-ray cover, we actually have the ad copy here, which I can simply read to describe you what this is. From Jamin Winans, writer and director of the sci-fi fantasy hits Ink and The Frame, comes Myth of Man, a whimsical tale set in an alternate nostalgic world told entirely without dialogue. The people in this world are plagued by persistent storms of toxic dust that rip through the city, infecting and killing anyone in their path. Ella, a woman unable to hear or speak, believes in an ancient myth that there was once a great artist, capitalized, who created their world and who will one day return to rescue them, but Ella's life is thrown into turmoil when she is trapped in a dust storm and terminally infected. With just days to live, Ella sets out on a journey to make contact with the mythical artist and attempt to summon his return. So, kind of, yeah, a big mythic sort of framework for this story, this steampunk, whimsical steampunk epic. And it is truly an independent film. The Winans do not have anybody backing them or assisting them. They do it all themselves. No studio involved, no distributor involved. They self-produce this Blu-ray and release it. You can find it at their site along with the soundtrack, doubleedgefilms.com, or at any retailers near you. Truly independent film and out of Colorado, shot with a lot of green screen, as you'll see from the trailer. Giles, what did you think of the trailer?
Well, if the story is a third as interesting as the look, I'm sure I'll find the narrative itself intriguing enough. But yeah, there was a lot of great, really cool things going on for the 2 minutes of just wonderment exhibition that the trailer acted as, that had glimpses of all the neat little sinister and, as you say, also whimsical steampunk things that are going on in this world. So I am quite looking forward to seeing this and sharing my experience with it for next week.
Okay, yes, and I have read that the narrative may not be, maybe more sort of impressionistic than or expressionistic than a hardcore thing. I think the fact that it's told without dialogue probably contributes to that. But there may be some ambiguity there to be prepared for.
Well, that's all right. If I didn't want to risk ambiguousness in the movies I was watching, I probably wouldn't have signed up for this website. So,
Yeah. All right. Speaking of, now, Inc., of course, their first film is a canonically weird film, and we have a re-release on 4K UHD of another canonically weird film here. This is a rather simple little UHD cover for Giles to describe.
all right. Well, we have it looks like it's either a signboard or a wall, formerly painted red, still red, but very cracked and decaying. And rising from this in a sort of frieze depth kind of sculpture look to it, though certainly drawn, is the side profile of a pig, from curly tail on the left to snout on the other, with a solemn blank look on the face, which is probably just as well because this is an advertisement sort of looking image for what a butcher shop in a classical little town might have outside hanging above their window.
Particularly a French town,
Right.
because it is a French movie that's very French.
Or is it Belgian? We don't want to, step on anyone's toes here.
Well, I mean, there may be
It's a francophonic town anyway.
maybe Belgians involved, but it's French. And it is
It is Delicatessen.
Delicatessen, the first movie from Jean-Pierre Jeunet and Mark Caro. I do not know how you pronounce Mark's last name.
Yeah, Caro would be close enough. Caro. It's not traditionally a French
Yeah, it's not a French
name, so they.
Maybe it's Belgian. But of course, this is the movie set in kind of an ambiguously post-apocalyptic world where nobody knows quite what's happened or why most of it is so deserted. But there is a boarding house that's above a delicatessen, and I think the plot is that the residents of the boarding house are constantly in danger of becoming the product at the delicatessen.
Mhm.
So there you have it. It's got some very famous sequences in it. Probably best known for its little symphony sequence.
Yep, and the various Rube Goldberg suicide methods of one of the tenants are stand out as well.
Yes, all these things the Junet and Caro would take again to their next movie, The City of Lost Children, and probably dial them up even a little bit more than they are in this one. Which is not to say that this one is in any way inferior to City of Lost Children, but they are definitely a pair of movies that together are pretty much like nothing else.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess Junet's solo feature Amelie is a little bit in the same vein, but not quite. It's gone much more mainstream.
Yeah.
Um, but these two movies are sort of a pair of movies that exist in a little corner of cinema that's totally unique.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely recommended. And yeah, that's the kind of thing that is a very visual movie. Very pleased to see that it is now given the upgrade treatment.
Yes, and it's kicked around for quite a while. This is from Severin Films. It was started out being released by Lionsgate, and then Studio Canal released the French version, although it was available to Americans as well. And here it is again, with, I believe, carrying over all the old special features that were on it, including the commentary by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, and adding a couple of new features, including something called The Tale of Terry Gilliam Presents Delicatessen, which is kind of, hopefully will solve the mystery of why the original was presented by Terry Gilliam Presents, but Terry Gilliam's involvement was nowhere to be found. I mean, they just like slapped that on the movie posters, and that was it. That was all. Terry Gilliam was not a producer. He was not listed in any way as being associated with the film. So hopefully, this little featurette, Terry Gilliam comes clean and explains whether he actually had any involvement with this film or the producers just got the rights to use his name. So that's Delicatessen on 4K UHD, also on a Blu-ray. Good one for anybody to get. Now, that last still was very easy for Giles to describe. This one may be too challenging.
All right. Well, we've got an interior here. Let's see. This is definitely a old building. They're in an old building. There's some staining of the glass, which may suggest this could be a cathedral, but I'm inclined to think this is more of a grand hall, and I'll go so far as to say a grand hall of a chateau. There are various figures looming in the wings up in the distance that we can sort of see overlooking the main event down in the center, which is a gentleman in a formal militaristic style, regal maybe, very white, double-breasted copper button or do with very elaborate sash over his shoulder and around the waist and trailing down off to the side in a delightful crimson. And he seems to be in the middle of some oratory, which is being regarded by not only just the watchers in the gallery, but a handful of, I will say, somewhat irregularly and eccentrically dressed individuals. There is a well-coiffed black woman looking straight up to him, situated right by his legs there. Off to the side of her is a wildly bouffanted, much makeup white woman in a sort of slightly drabbed formal dress with a flower motif. In the bottom right-hand corner, we can see, looking up this orator, a fellow in a soldier's uniform, if I were to guess, first half of 19th century. And we can't see much of another individual, but we can see that they have a headband on that looks saturated in blood. So all told, a bit of incongruity. This looks very old and taking place in a building that is even older still than the current actions would suggest.
Hmm. And this is a still from?
This is a still from The Mansion of Madness.
Yeah, or as I know it, Dr. Tarr's torture dungeon.
Right. Yeah, I did like how that was touched upon in the discussion there, that this was cycled through various titles to try to find a way to market it.
Well, yes, it was. This is how I saw it originally, way back in the 90s. Yeah, probably the 90s, I saw it on VHS under the title Dr. Tarr's Torture Dungeon. And you put this on, and it really is not anything you'd expect from a movie called Dr. Tarr's Torture Dungeon. Um, I loved it, however. It is basically a surrealist adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's story, the system of is it the system of Dr. Tarr and Professor Feather?
Yeah, something like
The
that.
curious system, or just the system of
It's one of his handful of
just the
the
system.
system of Dr. Tarr and Professor Feather.
Yes. And Professor Feather, I don't think ever shows up in this one, but Dr. Tarr does, I believe, a Dr. Tarr character at least. Um, the story, not to give away the twist ending, although I think people figure out the twist ending on their own.
And in the original, in the source material, it's yeah, not it's not the punchline. Yeah, you sort of know. Yeah, it's
So,
give away as you will, Greg.
but basically, it's a guy takes a tour of a mental asylum, and it's been remade many times. It was remade by Jans Funkmeyer as half of the movie Lunacy. The second half is an adaptation of Tar and Feather. Um, this one is Mexican from, let's see, was it 1970? I want to say 1975, but it's actually 1972, which is a little earlier than I thought, but puts it in the era. The guy who made it, his name is Juan Lopez Moctezuma, not Montezuma, but Moctezuma, and he was a sort of apprentice of Alejandro Jodorowsky. I'm not sure precisely what their relationship is, but I do know from the essay written on our site by Enar Clark reviewing this film that Moctezuma had Jodorowsky on a TV program in Mexico he hosted where Jodorowsky's performance was to destroy a grand piano as a musical composition. And apparently that did not go over well with the Mexican viewing public, but it shows that this is a panic movement, Jodorowsky influenced movie. And it's all about, the mise-en-scene and creating great scenes like this one we see here in the still, and others with a lot of sort of Napoleonic influences and mythological influences, but they're just setting up these wonderful tableaux using mainly costumes and simple props and this location that they found, which I believe somebody explained was an old factory.
Oh, okay. That's yeah. That window would be yeah.
It could be a factory window, even though it's been
Oh yeah, and the steel girdering there. Oh yeah, that's a cool space.
yeah. So it's a very wonderful movie. Reminds me a little bit of the Hourglass Sanatorium, more as much as anything. But certainly it is not what you'd expect to see in Dr. Tarr's Torture Dungeon. But a highly recommended little oddity movie. And hopefully the fact that this one just got released means that Moctezuma's other
Yeah.
major movie, Alucarda, will be released soon, which I have not seen, but languishes in our reader suggested queue. So if it pops up, that would give us a good excuse to take that out.
Yeah.
So on to the next one. which is another cover again from Severin Giles.
All right. Well, the backdrop that the figure is in front of is like a fleshy clay wall, a paler version of what some of you may remember from, let's see, uh, oh, good, Videodrome, where the shenanigans of that pirate TV station take place in front of, but definitely more human tone. There's even almost a little. I want to put almost a little face there with a vaguest outline of a pair of eyes and an open mouth. But seated in front of this with his back to us is a gentleman on a adjustable chair, one of those circular ones that you can spin to whatever your preferred height might be. He's got some slacks on, pair of good shoes, long sleeve white collared shirt, which is rolled up to the elbows, I presume to allow the pair of two descending tube wires that I'm guessing are attaching themselves somehow to this individual's forearms. Can't really tell you much about the mood of this person, not only because it's from the back, but they are slumped forward, so you can only just sort of see the back bit of hair there. So probably not doing altogether well. Certainly attached to an unpleasant apparatus of some sort. And all told, very bio-icky.
Oh yeah, as appropriate from this particular writer-director, who is Brandon Cronenberg, and the movie is.
Antiviral.
I doubt you've seen Antiviral, Giles, have
You
you?
would be correct in that doubt. I did brush up on your review, though, so was relieved to see that little Cronenberg, even as far back as 2012, was continuing the good fight that his father has been campaigning low these many decades.
Yes, this was the first of Brandon Cronenberg's three movies, all of which have been weird and all of which have been high quality and worthy of the Cronenberg, bearing the Cronenberg name, that being Antiviral, this one, Possessor, and finally Infinity Pool, which I believe you may have seen.
Yes, I have seen
Oh,
Infinity Pool. I may, yeah, yes, that's right. You were looking for when we were trying to do the list. It was one of the ones I was able to easily and happily catch up on. And so, yes, very, very Cronenberg.
Yeah. Well, this one is set, very Cronenberg also, set in a near future. I'll read my plot description from the written review. Sid is in the business of supplying fans who pay good money to be infected with herpes simplex virus extracted from their favorite celebrities. But when he samples the blood of the world's hottest model, he unwillingly injects himself with a fatal pathogen. So, along with being very body horror because of the effects of this pathogen and the hallucinations it causes, it's also highly satirical
Hmm.
about our worship of celebrity culture. People probably would pay to be infected with George Clooney's version of herpes, or a
I,
cold. A cold. I know Giles would want to have a cold that Nick Cage had had.
oh, well, I mean, I certainly couldn't say no.
No.
I guess the presumption in this variant is there are a lot of attractive celebrities out there who had herpes simplex. I haven't seen this, so I don't know if they just devised one that would be of them, but a lot of diseased celebrities in the
Well,
world of antiviral.
70% of all humans have herpes.
Oh, that's true. I do forget that it is lurking.
So that in itself is a pretty benign infection.
Fair enough.
However, the ones that they uh, end up having here tend to be a little stronger version. And there's some other stuff about celebrities there and what people will do for celebrities' bodies that are even creepier than this idea of being willingly infected with celebrity viruses. And the last thing I'll say is that you're pretty perceptive about the backdrop there, I think, Giles, but that little face, you'll have to watch the movie to see what that might be. But this is a list candidate, did not decide to canonize it on the first go through, but it certainly is the type of film that could make that apocryphal list. And we're going to go on to our last movie, last Blu-ray release of the week. So go ahead, Giles, and describe this one, if you will.
All right, we have, gosh, who is that artist? Was that Malevich who did the Cube series? Anyway, Black Square. That famous bit of abstract art, that is the baseline background for this. In front of it, dominating the image, is very hourglassy 1950s, 1960s blonde, stereotypical female beauty form with spiky flower pink bikini thing going on there. And she is standing with one leg at a slight angle and a sort of casually come hithery kind of pose, and extending her left arm forward kind of towards us. She is holding what appears to me to be a necktie that is still tied up but not around someone's neck. So that is on offer, perhaps having just been removed. In the lower right-hand corner, in a more cowering spy thriller kind of way, is a lushly haired gentleman in a nice blazer. He seems to be holding a firearm of some sort, and cowering slightly behind him, also in black and white alongside him, is, I believe, the same woman, looking less alluring and forthright, more distressed. And I guess the final image, tucked in the numeric part of the title for this film, on the black square, is the front picture of what I'm guessing is the gentleman in the lower right, gazing ahead at us with rather white eyes and a cigarette dangling from his mouth. So if he's not French, he's some kind of other European Mediterranean at any rate.
So what I'll say is, if people want to imagine this more vividly, imagine that the woman in the bikini is Ursula Andress, which she is, and that the man with the gun and also in the center of the zero there is Marcello Mastroianni, which he is, and you'll have an even more vivid picture of this cover for
The 10th Victim,
which I'm guessing you've never seen and I've never seen.
I have never seen, though I did read up Mr. Wilson's enjoyable review about this movie and just how cool looking it is.
Yeah, it's from probably my peak favorite period of pop culture, which is the middle of the 60s, just on the dawn of the swinging 60s, before the hippies take over. But, there's still kind of that influence there. Things are changing, but there's that old sense of cool and martinis and everybody smoking. And sex is just beginning to become less hidden and more naughty and more in the public consciousness. And everybody just seems to be having great fun, and there's pop art and really cool lounge music and so forth. And I just love this period of pop culture history where this is kind of emblematic of, and it's one of the last eras also I think of as having classic sort of movie stars, which Marcello Mastroianni and to a lesser extent Ursula Andress are sort of those classic movie stars, the last in the lineage, as I think of it, as of classic movie stars. It's a spy spoof satire. It's quoted extensively by Austin Powers. The first Austin Powers movie makes a number of references to this. It's sort of a satire anticipates reality television in the sense that there's a TV show in which contestants compete to assassinate each other, and Marcello and Ursula are matched against each other as combatants on this TV show, but as people will in movies, they tend to fall in love and maybe want to frustrate their producers, perhaps. I'm guessing, but
Uh,
seems like a good guess. Anything further to say about the 10th victim there, Giles?
oh, I know that wraps it up well. I do recommend checking out the review. I very much like the still chosen, either by Shane or yourself, with some of the swingingest looking rule enforcers I think I've ever seen. So
Oh
this,
yeah, that's a scene that was sort of I guess I think that's a scene that was copied in Austin Powers.
hmm, yeah, looks
So
like good
that
fun. Good people looking good in front of good sets with good costumes. Sounds great.
yeah, and that's also the period of pop culture history. Just continue with that. That I like because it's before everything got really vulgar, but it's still naughty. So
Yeah,
there's the kind of mix of propriety and sort of encroaching sexual liberation that just strikes a really good tone without being too crass and without being too repressed at the same time.
yeah.
Just seems like everybody's having good fun. And so are we. And that may be the end of our show today. We'll come back and do the same thing next week because we have no guest lined up unless somebody pops up at the last minute. But that will do it for today, Giles. Any final words in our last 2 minutes or?
No, it's a good wrap up, and we can terminate this more on purpose than being cut off. So I guess I'll just wish everyone a good week. Like, subscribe, and all that other stuff we always forget to tell you to do. And we'll keep you posted.
Right. Look forward to the Werner Herzog
Mm.
animation and check out The Myth of Man. You can find that on Blu-ray plus all the other Blu-rays if you're interested. And we will talk to you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Cheers.
Weird. Yeah, I guess that is the word for it. Weird.